What is the best EDC gear from Harbor Freight? We've made a video about this in the past. We wanted to do it again, and we've tried several times, but some of the new stuff that we knew was even better was out of stock. It's very popular stuff, but I got an email today. It came in stock. So we went to Harbor Freight earlier today and got all this new cool stuff. So let's talk about the best EDC gear at Harbor Freight. Let's do the damn thing. I do want to say that this time, instead of trying to piece together a complete EDC, we decided to just go through the store and find stuff that's EDC related. Some things are not things you're going to carry with you necessarily every day, but we wanted to find some of the cooler stuff that kind of relates to many of the things we already cover here on the channel. So this is not really a complete EDC video, but rather just the cool stuff that is kind of EDC-ish that we found at Harbor Freight. I think the place that makes the most sense is utility knives. I'm pretty sure I included this in the video that I think it was titled something like, I bought all the EDC gear at Harbor Freight so you didn't have to. This hasn't changed to my knowledge. It's just a lockback mini utility knife that has these tiny little blades. It's meant to be kind of a keychain size, and they're actually not bad at all. They also used to sell the spare blades, but I did not see any spare blades there for the little mini blades. These are the same blades that Keybar uses, so if you have a Keybar utility knife, it's the same exact blade that goes in there. But it's exactly what you expect. Very small utility knife. Very small cutting edge too, that's like 1/2 inch cutting edge. And blade changes happen like this. You pull this up, this slides out of the way, I'm pretty sure. It's been a while since I've done this. Yeah, so you just slide this down, slide your blade out, pop it back in and lock it. Make sure that it actually locks. So I also picked these up because for a while now I've gotten questions about where you can get different style utility blades. To my knowledge, Harbor Freight only has these hook blades, which are really good for certain things like tearing through. They're really good for carpet and stuff like that. I think that's actually what they're initially intended for, but they're good at just, you know, very specific tasks, not really a general purpose blade. However, I think in the past, and I could be wrong on this, I think they also had serrated, but I know that you can get serrated utility blades at Northern, not Harbor Freight. So I just picked these up just to kind of mention that they do have different blades. These you can get at Lowe's and stuff, but serrated blades, because I've had a lot of questions about where I got serrated blades for utility knives in the past, Northern Tool, not Harbor Freight, but anyway, you can get hook blades there. And then we have the Gordon utility knife. So they have Doyle. Doyle is a brand, maybe it's a house brand for Harbor Freight, I'm not 100% sure, but Doyle is the one that's like the fastback knockoff that I talked about last time. They also had this Gordon one last time, which is like, it's an aluminum handle. However, they had a different utility blade that was a little more expensive. So this one, where is this one? Folding lockback knife, $549. This one is $599. For some reason, this is still ringing up for Harbor Freight as a lockback. If you may notice, there's no lockback on this one, but it's actually a button lock, but the button lock doesn't work. Like, you can't flick this open and it's so tight. Oh,
you gotta put your back into it.
Yeah. Maybe it just needs some oil. It's really gritty. I don't think there are bearings in there. It just looks like washers. But it does have a like 3/4 lock, which is nice because that lets you get really down into something if you're cutting really hard. Gives you extra force. But for $6, this thing's not bad. It is tipped down. They're all tipped down. People commented last time I asked about why utility knives are tipped down, they said it's a safety thing. It's not a safety thing, right? Because if you have a tip-up knife in your pocket, just like any other folding knife for the most part, tip up, if you have this on your right side, this is right hand tip up carry. If you have this in your pocket, which I guess I gotta stand up for this, it goes right here, right? This is where it's intended to go. And if it's against the edge of your pocket, there's no way for that knife to open. That's the safety feature of tip up, right? It's against the edge of your pocket and it's really hard and to open in your pocket. And when your hand goes in, the blade will be on the other side of the knife anyway. That's how it's intended to be used. When it's tipped down like this, it's not that, I don't know why I sat back down. When it's tipped down like this and you put it here, if it were to accidentally open, and you reach in and pull your hand out, you can grab that end of the knife on your hand. Also, if it opens, it's opening into the center of your pocket. Like that's kind of the point that I'm making there. It's opening into your pocket against, or instead of against the edge of your pocket. So I don't like that. I don't like the orientation of the clips on any of these, but this one, and like many of the button lock utility knives from like Milwaukee or something, it doesn't open anyway. You have to push the button to open it regardless. So it's not even really a safety feature. Anyway, the whole point of me picking this up this time is that they have phased out the actual lockback version of the Gordon. So there's no more lockback and it's a button lock. So cool, I guess. And then the blade change on this is just a little bit different. You roll this, pull the blade out. It's really easy to change the blades on these. Like probably one of the easiest, but it does feel a little bit like cheap. But it is cheap. It's a $6 utility knife, but hard to complain about it too. I would get a Milwaukee Fastback over this pretty much every single time. And the Doyle is good too. The Doyle is very similar to a Fastback, but it's 10 bucks, I believe. I want to take a moment to thank our channel sponsors, Big Idea Design. They've been supporting the channel for as long as that channel's been around, basically. They have amazing pens and pocket tools and now knives and backpacks even. So go check them out. Use my coupon code CARRYON for 10% off at checkout. And also I want to thank Worksharp for sponsoring the channel. This is your reminder to use your shit and sharpen your knives. Go check out Worksharp. And they also have a Mark II or version 2 of the Ken Onion knife and tool sharpener. It's out now. It's really great. Go check it out. And thank you again, Worksharp, for being a channel sponsor. Flashlight, we picked this up. I wouldn't recommend buying this. I've not even turned it on, but it looks like a knockoff Coast, which a Coast is already like a cheap flashlight. And this was Pen Light, $7.99. So you can get a Coast at Lowe's or Academy or a lot of different places for the same price as this right here. This says 200 lumens, and look how far that sticks out of your pocket. 250 foot range, 2 modes, runtime up to 5 hours, 2 AA's. Super durable aluminum barrel. Spring clip for easy carry. Ridged collar to prevent rolling. Ooh, nice feature. I don't think it's bad. It's not worth like crapping on this thing. It's $7, not $8. Like, it's fine. That clip is really sharp though. All the edges on this are super sharp. I feel that.
Oh yeah, that'll destroy your pocket real nice.
That'll destroy your pocket and scratch your car, and yeah, just round that a little bit. It's not that hard, but $7, $8, not a bad little like inspection pen light. Like it works, does its job. I wouldn't say it's any better or worse than a Coast, honestly. And you got 2 AA's. I guess that's really it. You can take either side off for changing batteries. So Braun flashlight, this is the last of like the okay-ish products that I would say Harbor Freight has for EDC. The next few items are actually really good. I'm gonna detour a little bit before we get to some of the tools and talk about these because I have not seen these before. We have a US General tray, and this is meant to be used like if you're working under the hood of your car, you can put tools and stuff in here so they don't roll into your engine bay. Likewise, this could be used as like a knife maintenance tray. So you're taking apart a knife and you put screws in places so they don't roll away. 2 different size trays. This one has bits, like storage for your, it's got like string on it. It's got storage for 1/4-inch bits. I don't know how deep those are. We can test it in a second. But yeah, these would be really good for taking apart a knife, making sure your body screws and springs and other stuff don't go flying. I don't know, I thought they were pretty cool. I just kind of walked past and saw them and thought those would make a nice little desktop tray. So I actually happened across this a while back. I love ratcheting screwdrivers, as you guys know. And this one's just a cool little screwdriver that's got a good grip to it, right? It reminds me a lot of the CRKT 6-bit, but this is all Torx and it's meant for knife maintenance, and it doesn't ratchet. It's just very similar kind of stubby screwdriver. This one is that style that you're used to, your dad always had, right? You've got this internal ball detent bit that flips around, and then each one of these is also a ball detent. You've got a flathead and Phillips, and on the other side you have a larger flathead and Phillips. You have a P2 or PH2, PH1, 1/4-inch, and I'm guessing 1/8, 3/16. So I think it's just a cool little screwdriver that would go really well with, say, this. And since we have it here, we can test. Well, that's a double-sided bit. Okay, that would work. They kind of sit down in there pretty far, but that would work. It would actually look kind of funky if they were long bits. So I guess that's what it's meant for. If you have like a Weehaw bit kit, you can put that here, and then you can also have a couple others like your Phillips and flatheads. But I think this is a good little pair that you could maybe, I don't know, get for your father for Father's Day, since that's coming up. If you want to see a Father's Day gift guide, that's also coming up. But that right there is pretty cool little combo. So these things right here were all the rage during the holidays. In fact, I bought many of them for gifts. I think I bought 5 or 6 of them, and I think they're really awesome. So I have another one. I actually let Ricky borrow mine for a little bit when he moved here to assemble furniture. How was it?
It was great.
It's actually really helpful. So what you have is a full-on torque set here, and some of these are security torques, so they have the hole in the center. You have some flathead, you have Phillips, you have hex, some more hex, so I'm guessing probably SAE, and then these are probably metric. Yep. You have an extension, and you have a ratcheting driver. Now what's really cool about this is it's a flex head, but it locks into place in all of these little increments. As you can see here, all these are locking positions for this ratchet, which is really neat. And you can use an extension with it, but if you line up this little flat spot here with the white dot here, it actually goes all the way through. All right, and that is also so you can use the other side of the handle as a T-handle. So you have ratcheting, you have an extension, and you have a T-handle all in one, which I think is really neat. Now this is a little bit more expensive because it's the Icon brand from Harbor Freight, which is, they go after, I guess, Snap-on. They use a lot of very similar designs to Snap-on with the Icon brand. I wouldn't necessarily say it's Snap-on quality. I know people who own Snap-on tools would really hate to hear that, but there are some channels out there who have put Icon up against Snap-on, and Icon does pretty well, especially considering the cost difference. So if you're more of a fan of buying something that you know is gonna break if you use it, but you can replace it without having to, you know, cry all the way to the store, Icon is probably a pretty solid brand, and their ratchets have actually shown to be pretty damn good. I will say that what happened with my set, the first one that I got, is that this little piece no longer works, meaning that this white dot, the indicator for how this goes all the way on there, doesn't work anymore. If I put, see, if you put this in here in any other orientation other than this flat spot lined up with the dot, it stops there. So it's a true extension. Mine doesn't do that anymore. No matter what way I put this in, it always does this. So that happened after, honestly, quite a bit of use, but it's just still something that I should mention has happened. I forgot to mention this. You also have a 1/4 inch bit adapter, so you can put, or not bit, socket adapter, so you can put sockets on this as well. So you can use it as a socket ratchet or a driver. So it's really, really neat. I've found this thing to be very helpful, and a nice little compact toolkit that closes up into this neat little case. The only downside is 40 bucks, which seems to be quite a bit for what you get here, especially compared to most of the other stuff you get at Harbor Freight. But for what this is and how good it is and how handy it's been, I really like it. What I really do love about this thing though is you can really get into some interesting places with this. So if you've got really low clearance and you need to get in there, you've got the ability to reach down and use it in these funky little ways that normally you can't do, right? Like this is why this thing is so neat. And then also being able to really extend far, you can bend this and get some torque like this. So I think it's a very versatile toolkit for what it is. Is it expensive for Harbor Freight? Yeah, but you know, we've kind of established that. Icon is what it is, love or hate it. I really like this thing. To that same point, we have this, which so many people told me I should buy, and I bought one and left it at home. So I had to buy another one today, just so I could include it in this video because I wasn't going back home. Another Icon ratchet. I feel like this one's like bigger. Is this not the right one? I don't know. We don't have any sockets or anything, but people, this is, if you look on the tag at Harbor Freight, I'm pretty sure it says compared to Snap-on. It's just a high tooth. I mean, you hear how many clicks? I'm barely turning that thing. It's got a lot of teeth in there. I don't know how many, but I'm sure it tells us. 90 tooth gear to gear mechanism produces a 4-inch arc or 4-degree arc swing for easy work in small spaces. So that's really nice. And this thing feels substantial. This is more than I would put in my EDC, but I grabbed it because so many people told me to check it out. And I have, I just didn't talk about it on video. It feels really nice. I don't know how to convey that on camera. I'm not like a guy who geeks out over ratchets, but these are $30 for just the ratchet head. So just keep that in mind. Don't want to dwell on this one too long because the other one's the way better tool for EDC. We're gonna spend a little minute talking about this next one because this one is a little controversial. We tried to grab one of these when we found out about this. They were very popular and they disappeared very quickly and nobody had them. We ended up driving around for almost 2 hours one day, maybe almost 3. We spent a long time driving around to every Harbor Freight around trying to find one of these because they all listed that they were in stock and they weren't. And you know, it probably would have been smarter to just call them, but we're
not smart.
We didn't. We went to like 4 different ones before we decided maybe we should call. However, I got an email today saying they were back in stock, so we went and grabbed one so we could finally make this little video. This is the Icon drop point knife with ceramic bearings. Really sexy name. Like, ooh. G10 handle, D2 steel, lifetime guarantee. Let's see what they say about this. G10 handle with carbon fiber inlays provide additional resilience while staying extremely lightweight. Premium D2 blade steel offers superior hardness and wear resistance for long-lasting edge retention. Ceramic ball bearings provide fast and smooth deployment. Curved tip to fit naturally in your hand. Curved grip, not tip. Whew. Yikes. Low friction pivot point to reduce wear. Convenient access with built-in belt clip. Okay, sure. That's a belt clip on there apparently. And this is probably old news at this point, but I do want to talk about this a little bit. All right, so you may already be thinking that looks kind of familiar. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, well, if you're not familiar with this is the Begg Knives Mini Glimpse that they came out with a while back. It's one of their most popular knife designs, just Begg knives in general. But they have this budget-friendly version. I don't remember what they call that line.
Steelcraft.
Steelcraft, yep, that's it. Anyway, this is a damn near direct copy, right? Like, the clip shape is the same, the handle shape, and everything is the same. They even have the same jimping on the lock bar. They've got similar swedges. They have the exact same blade shape. They have the same flipper tab. They have the same back spacer. They do have different clips, but they are pretty much the same shape. Like, everything about these two knives is extremely similar. So at Harbor Freight, when we went that day to go try and buy one of these and do this video months and months ago, I think it was back in December or November, on the tag it said compare to Begg. So now it says compare to Mac Tools at $139. Save $95. Let's see what it's showing. We'll have to search this.
Yeah.
That's what it compares to.
That looks more like a Benchmade.
It doesn't. That's what we're comparing this to. That's the inspiration. Naturally, when I saw this thing, I DM'd Begg and I said, whoa, are you guys collaborating on this? Is this like a licensed design? What's the deal? And the answer I got back was no. So take it for what you will. These, I'm pretty sure, are available pretty much everywhere, and they're not much different in price than this one. It feels nicer, if I'm gonna be completely honest. It just has more of a thwack to it. It feels a little more solid. It's hard to tell which one has a thicker blade stock because this one is so heavily crowned, and the swedge. This swedge comes to almost a point, right? It's very, very thin swedge. This one is just a very subtle swedge. So this one looks like it has a thicker stock, but I think this one has a thicker stock, but it's really hard to say. This one does have a milled clip, and this one has the signature ball detent clip from Begg. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. I think it's pretty gaudy to completely steal this design. Like, it's pretty freaking blatant. And then change the tag from saying compare to Begg to now compare to Mac Tools, that is linking to a knife that looks literally nothing like it, has nothing in common except for the fact that it's a folding knife. So yeah, I think it's a bad look for Harbor Freight. They're never gonna have to like pay for anything for this. They're not gonna get any hate for it really, because their audience is not our audience. Like, there's some overlap, but like the core demographic at Harbor Freight is totally different. Like, it's people walking in and being like, hey, that's cool, and not even knowing who Begg is. But for our community, I think this is kind of, it's terrible. Like, that's pretty bad. Objectively, I would say this is a pretty good knife. Like, if you don't know anything about Begg and what's going on in the story, you can buy this thing and you're probably gonna be really happy with it. I think it's pretty damn solid, right? And I like the glimpse. And in fact, if I were to change this at all, I'd make it just a little bit bigger because it's a little small in my hand, and this is a little bit bigger. But, you know, knowing what I know, I could never support Harbor Freight. But this is kind of what Harbor Freight does. This is their MO. If you shop at Harbor Freight, you know what you're doing for the most part, or at least should know. And this is no different. And I just think it's kind of interesting that it hit so close to home for us now, right? Like, man, all that aside, I've said my piece. Tell me what you guys think about the, what are we calling it? Drop point knife with ceramic bearings. Tell me what you think about that from Harbor Freight, or Icon, technically. You probably thought that we were not gonna talk about this multi-tool, but fooled you. Just kidding. We looked around the store, we walked the store 3 full times, and this was nowhere on shelves, and I didn't even know this existed. However, we were literally minutes from publishing this video, and I saw a YouTube short from our friend Dominic over at Max Level EDC talking about this. I was out of town, so I sent Ricky to go pick it up, and now we're back. So a few days late on getting this video out, but let's talk about this, because this is the newest EDC item from Harbor Freight, and it's a little bit, kind of falls in that same camp as the other things that we've just finished talking about. This product is very on the nose and unabashed about what it is. So we'll just get it out and continue explaining, and maybe even do a little visual comparison. Even the belt holster looks like a Leatherman belt holster. Right off the bat, you can tell what this is and what it looks like. It looks pretty much like a Leatherman Wave replica. Maybe a Surge, because it does have, or a Charge rather, not a Surge, because it has the gut hook. But the one thing, I was looking through all these tools on the back of here, and the one thing it has that I think none of the Leathermans have, window breaker. And that's right there. But they also have non-replaceable wire cutters, which I guess makes sense on something that is, what was it, 40 bucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, $40. I mean, if you look at this thing, it's pretty easy to tell that this is a Leatherman knockoff, or as close as you can get to a Leatherman knockoff. I mean, same blade shape. They've changed the hole shape. It has the same locking mechanism here. It also has the same locking mechanism for your internal tools, and all of the tools are the same. So, I mean, even the clip shape and how these tools disengage is exactly the same. Does the clip come out? The clip comes out in the exact same way. Here's a good test. Does the Gordon clip fit on the Leatherman? It doesn't. Does the Leatherman clip fit on the Gordon? It does, but it's at the wrong angle. This one does not fit in there. Realistically, I would say this feels very much like a Leatherman. It feels a little bit cheaper in a way that's like, I guess hard to quantify. And I think it probably comes down to like how the finishing is done. There are no hard burrs on the edges of any of these, like the frame. On the Leatherman, it's all kind of deburred. This is very sharp. Not like cut you sharp, but it's got a burr to it. It feels solid though. It feels really solid. And the other thing that's like, I guess the biggest knock for this thing is 5CR15 MOV steel. So I'm guessing that's just for the blade and handle construction. Okay, so that might be all of it, I don't know. The file is also a little bit different, and it looks a little janky. Look at that. You see that?
It looks used.
It looks weird. It's got like the diamond file on this side, and it has a hatch, like coarser file on this side, but it's got these like teeth. It's not a saw, but it's just a really coarse file, I guess. I can't imagine that would hold up super well. So you got your straight edge, you've got a serrated blade with the gut hook, you have a saw, and then literally the exact same tool set as a Leatherman Wave. So you've got a bit that is using Leatherman's bit style notably without a detent groove. There's no groove on here, so it's literally just, oh, there's a magnet. So it's magnetized in there. But yeah, for $40, I would say it feels fine. It seems like it could be a good tool, but it is like very, very, very blatantly a Leatherman knockoff. The only thing I'd be interested in beyond what we've said here, you could test durability or something, but is to see how this compares to, I guess it's Ozark Trail. Don't they have a Leatherman ripoff as well? I think it's a direct wave knockoff as well. Yeah, interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. How do you guys feel about the Gordon 20-in-1 multi-tool? That's what they're calling it. Tell me how you feel about this in the comments down below. And also their G, I just noticed that. Just kind of, that's their logo, I guess. Looks kind of like Gatorade. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Gatorade Tools.
Yep.
You heard it here first. But I guess the point is that they do have good products. There are quite a few things inside their walls that are really good products that are good for your EDC or for working on your EDC or fixing it. And this thing right here is another good example of that. This little mini utility blade is great. It's a great little gift for somebody that's in your life that maybe wants to cut open some packages but doesn't want to carry around a big knife. This gets the job done. This is good for 99% of what most of us do, just cutting open packages, boxes, breaking things down, and it's simple. So there are some really good things. It's cool to see some newer cool stuff coming to Harbor Freight. There is no way to do a complete EDC at Harbor Freight anymore. You're not gonna find wallets or pens or pencils or any, like watch. You're not gonna find any of that. It's a hardware store, but they do have some really cool stuff. So tell me what you think about these items here. What's your favorite one that you can pick up at Harbor Freight? And did we miss anything? Because I feel like they had other flashlights that were out of stock, but I don't know for sure. They didn't have much on the flashlight aisle. But let us know in the comments down below if we missed something or if there's something else at Harbor Freight we should check out and what other store we should do this at. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, carry on.